Hello, everybody. Jeff Mason with SimpleBiz360 coming to you from stlewispodcast.com in Chesterfield, Missouri, the home of Vi Media. Alex Dietrich on the boards. And tonight is episode 43. I've been waiting for this for months. We have such an exciting guest tonight. We welcome Gordon Manzione of Campbelltown, Australia. So, Gordon, please say hello and just let the audience know a little bit about you, if you could.
Well, that's amazing. Hello, Jeff, and thanks for having me on your show. This is terrific, really, and it's a pleasure. Really do appreciate that. Look, I was born in Plainfield, New Jersey, back in 1958. Not late though. We moved to Berkeley Heights when I was 3 because Berkeley Heights became a new suburb, and we moved there when I was 3 years old and went to William Woodruff Public School. And then, of course, matriculated through Columbia Junior High School, then obviously into GL, and graduated in 1976, and went to a couple colleges, got a bit edgy, and found my way in Hawaii, and then found my way in Sydney, Australia, where I met my beautiful and married with the 3 children, now 2 grandchildren. And really, Jeff, I have not looked back. There's a story there. I mean, it's just 60 years of life, just condensed down to 30 or 60 seconds.
Yes.
But seriously, I've never looked back.
That's awesome. Well, we certainly are excited to learn a lot about you and about your story and about Australia. So thank you very much, Gordon. So I'm going to kind of set the stage for listeners and viewers, just so I'm going to paint a picture so you kind of know what's going on here. But so Gordon and I went to high school together at Governor Livingston Regional High School in Berkeley Heights, New Jersey. And this is just a picture of our yearbook. And if you see, Gordon's up here, over here, I'm over here. And, we're on the same row, actually, of the yearbook pictures, and which is quite amazing. And we were in the same homeroom. So Gordon and I haven't seen each other in 44 years. We kind of reconnected through my book. And we're coming to you today from Gordon's home, which is in Campbelltown, Australia. So basically, if you just want a visual picture, if you were to take the global map and look at it, and you were to look at the southern tip of Africa, and pretty much just go due east on the same latitude practically, you're going to run into Perth on the western side of Australia, and you zoom across Australia, you're going to hit Sydney on the eastern seaboard. Gordon resides in about an hour southwest of Sydney in the suburbs in Campbelltown. Beautiful town. I've looked at the pictures online, Gordon. It just looks gorgeous. And so it's winter down there, if I understand correctly. Am I right? Yep.
Yeah.
Winter down there and summer up here, and we're hot. He's a little cool. So we're gonna find out a lot about Australia, talk a little bit about business. We're going to dive in. We're both avid rock and rollers, and Gordon's got a great production stuff he does with music, which we're going to talk about. And then we got a surprise and a real treat for anybody who's from Berkeley Heights or that Union County, New Jersey area, because we're going to unveil some things at the end of this podcast you may not know, and it'll blow you away. So, at any rate, Gordon, we'd love to just start. Again, thanks so much. Your family is so lovely. I watch you on Facebook and see some lovely family. So, I guess the first question I have is, how did you meet your wife, and is it a connection in Hawaii by chance?
It was. You remember Gary French?
Yes.
Gary French was everyone's friend. He was a very close friend of mine, and Gary was moving to Hawaii, and right after kind of high school, and he said, "Do you want to come along?" And I was in with college and everything else, and I thought, well, what an opportunity to go out there and just kind of feel my way around the world, I suppose, become more worldly. And I met Gary out there and lived there for a couple of months, and then I met this beautiful girl on the beach. That's how it happened.
Is that how it happened?
And, well, I think I got hit in the head with a coconut. Seriously. And I asked her, and she said her name was Diane, and she was talking to me, and we're just talking on this beach. And she said, I said, "Where are you from? Are you from from Great Britain?" Because they had this accent. And I didn't know anyone from Australia. And she said, no, I'm from Australia, you know. And so that's how it happened. And then things worked out, and I found myself in Sydney.
Now, what island were you on in the Hawaiian chain?
In Waikiki, Oahu.
Okay. So you met her on the beach. Wow, that is wild. So how long did you date before you got engaged, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, God, we had to get engaged. We got engaged after, when I landed here, we got engaged within 3 months.
Wow. Because
I only had a visitor's visa, and the government tracks these visa people. And I thought, well, if I get engaged, there's a good chance I could stay here. And make a long story short, it became very difficult. They wanted to throw me out of the country. They wanted me to go reapply for a fiance visa. And that was just not going to happen. I was not going to leave terra firma.
Wow. So what year is this, Gordon?
1981.
So it's 81.
Married in 1982.
Wow. Yeah. So you're 38 years, I get. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So, yeah, well, that's a great story. So on the beach now, for those who don't know, we come from Jersey, which has 120 miles of beach shoreline. So you were a beach guy, right? And back in New Jersey, is that correct?
For sure. I think we all were.
Yeah. Where was your favorite Jersey? What town did you guys hang out mostly in?
We used to, remember Jimmy Casca?
Sure.
Jimmy Casca and I were best friends, and we used to go down to Wildwood.
Oh, so you went all the way south? Yeah.
They had a regular place to stay in Wildwood, and I used to go down during the summers and spend weeks down there.
Yeah.
It was just a great place. Of course, all the beaches. Yeah. From Belmar to Seal Beach, Belmar, Seaside Heights, Point Pleasant, Asbury Park, just hanging out. It's great.
Yeah, excellent. Well, yeah, so I spent 8 summers on the shore. We haven't really talked about our lives since then, but yeah, I spent 3 on Long Beach Island, 5 on Brigantine, actually 9, and then I spent 1 in Sea Isle City. So I was always like exit 63, exit 44 was Stockton, where I went to school. Exit 40 was Brigantine. Exit 25, Ocean City, and then 17 was Sea Isle. So that's kind of my little zone. When a lot of the folks we went to high school with were, except yourself, so many of them were really 82 and exit 82 and further north, it seems. But
they were, and each beach had its own personality. Yeah. I mean, you just mentioned places that I just kind of forgot and just remembered again, and it was Manasquan, or it was Seagirt, or Manaloking, you know.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, people don't realize just absolutely breathtaking sand, 120 miles of shoreline. Wildwood, where you were, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a huge Canadian populace down there in the summertime, correct?
110%.
Yeah.
And we met, Jimmy and I used to meet a lot of French girls.
Yeah, well,
never speak the language, but we certainly knew the language.
Yes, for sure. I can imagine. It's universal at that age, right? So that's too much. So now, folks, Gordon has a twin brother named Charlie residing in Indianapolis area, I believe suburbs at this point. And so how is that? I mean, I know he went to the Citadel, and you guys, split apart probably later in 1976, anyways. But how is that with a twin? I mean, is there any, do you guys talk often? Is there any weird feelings that, you can't be close to him, can't see him that often, or how does that work?
It's earlier on. It's hard to explain. Charlie and I played baseball. He played basketball. So we had that kind of peculiarity, differences between us. And I remember when we were about 12 years old, I had a bad pain in my groin, a seriously bad pain in my groin. And Mom said, we're going to the doctors. Charlie, you're coming too, just in case. We'll check you both at the same time. Well, they couldn't find anything wrong with me, Jeff, but Charlie had a silent hernia.
Wow.
So
wow.
I went in crying, and he went out crying. And it was just one of those really strange things. Yeah. And he was operated on immediately within, I think it was 10 days.
I mean, you hear about stuff like that. That's wild, man. Oh, my gosh. So do you guys talk often? And you pretty much...
We do.
You do?
We do. We talk through Facebook and Medium, those kind of social media as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I saw a fun. I promise you, I'd tell you a funny story about your brother. So my dad moved us in from northern New Jersey, in Allendale, New Jersey. We lived in Bergen County, into Berkeley Heights, November 12th in 8th grade. Now, 8th grade's a terrible year to move a kid into a school anyways, but, you know, plop November 12th and, you know, just stick you in the middle of the semester. You know, wow, that was rough. So I'm on the playground at Columbia School, you know, lunch recess, and I won't mention any names, but a kid comes up to me and tries to take my lunch money. And you know who waltzed over and broke it up? I mean, this kid would have taken me, and who knows if, you know, where it would have gone. But Charlie waltzed up and broke this thing up and said, "Hey, leave this kid alone," you know? So your brother was one of the first, you know, first introductions I had to Berkeley Heights, November 12th.
What a great memory.
I mean,
What a great memory.
I appreciate it forever. You know, it was really great. So it was just a tough time to move in, but you know, that's where I kind of got my love of rock and roll. You know, I ended up meeting Steve Wright and his brothers, and his older brother was an ex-BBC session guitarist before his dad moved the tool and die business from Bolton, England over here. And, you know, we played soccer every day off there. They lived off Klein Boulevard. We played soccer every day after school. And I mean, they go up in the story, and Dale would just plug in his, you know, Stratocaster and Marshall 50-watt amp, and he would just play anything from England that I wanted to hear. So he turned me on to everything, and it's really where I learned soccer and I learned rock and roll from that experience. So, you know, I guess it wasn't all bad moving in November, but at any rate, so zoom back to Australia. So it's 1981. You get married in 82, right? And so when did you have your first child?
I had Brooke was born in 1986.
1986, okay.
And then Abby, my second daughter Abby, was born in 1988. And then my son Josh was born in 1992. Josh was a twin, but unfortunately they were born premature, Jeff.
Oh, sorry.
And really sick. They were born at 27 weeks. Oof. And so one passed. Yeah, Troy.
Oh. Wow. So, well, your family, like I said, is beautiful. And looks like your daughters are getting into the act of the camera. I think I'm getting that feeling. Huh? Is that right?
Yeah, they got their talent.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good. Well, excellent. So, you're down there. It's mid '80s. Did you start working? I mean, where did you start working at first when you kind of got going there?
I started getting involved in synthetic grass material. My father had a long history with synthetic grass, the artificial polypropylene grass that was replacing Monsanto's nylon on sports fields. So my father has a huge history on that commercially, and he had connections in Australia, and he was able to get me when I landed here. I was able to meet with executives here and start working on that side. So I virtually had a job, Jeff, when I first landed here in pretty much 1981.
Wow, that's
I was
awesome.
lucky that way. I was lucky that way. So that led to me commercially selling artificial turf materials to tennis court companies and putting them cricket. We have cricket down here, right. Cricket pitches on the big, you know, ovals they call them here. And that revolved, and then that stepped into another dimension where I met another gentleman selling playground equipment. You know, the stuff you see down there, recreational centers. You know, the big stuff.
Sure.
And I got involved in that. But the focus was always on local government. So my whole career, even today, is involved with local government and their agencies.
So you've been involved with tenders, and I mean, tenders are bids for all intents and purposes, but that's what you've been doing since day one, pretty much, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
Local government spend 25% of their revenue or expenditure on recreation and community services. Even in America, you know, you go down to your local park and you see these new playgrounds pop up or this new tennis court. Right. There's a lot of money involved in that.
Right.
And so I become myself very attached to that market in that sector. And that's what I've been doing. It's been a terrific career for me, Jeff.
Very cool. Well, I know and we'll get to your lead son position in a little bit, but so very cool. So this is where you plant your feet on the polypropylene astroturf, if you will, and you're selling to those venues, and then as you're doing this now, you're mid-80s, so now you're what 5 years away from New Jersey Italian home cooking and pizza. How are you adjusting, Gordon? How are you doing this?
Well, it's been easy for me. I was able to slip in comfortably. When I was came here, I was welcomed here. There was a great affinity between Australia and America because, as you know, we're in a great alliance together.
Right.
We speak the same language.
Right.
They have a different slang arrangement. That was hard to adjust to. And basically everything was okay. I mean,
good.
They got different sports down here,
right.
But they have that affinity back and forth. They understand the American way, and that's
right.
been through the process of media and television and music and everything else.
I mean, can you find a good pasta down there with a nice rich sauce like home, or how is that?
Of course, because it's a very multicultural, I suppose, place.
Right.
Australia has huge influences of Italians and Greeks and Lebanese and highly European, Asian, Middle Eastern as well. It's all that. So it's been a melting pot of a lot of stuff happening. Yeah. Chinese, Korean. Yeah.
Well, so to give you an example, out here in the Midwest, even just in the States, I mean, it's hard to find a pizza, like we're used to, seriously. And it's hard. And a lot of the pasta, even though we're near the hill here in St. Louis, it's got the sauce is sweeter. It's not just a more sweet sauce. So, I wondered, growing up, I mean, did your mom used to make her own pasta? I mean, was she always whipping up a Sunday pasta meal or?
No, because my mother wasn't Italian. My father was.
Your father was, okay. I got you.
My mother came from the Polish and Ukrainian side. And so we had a bit of a mixture of stuff as well. But when you mention pizza, though, and there's a great thread still going on Facebook, Mary's Pizza. Now, anyone from Berkeley Heights in our ilk would remember Mary's Pizza near Columbia High School, up from the Berkeley Heights Swimming Club.
Correct. And
Mary made the pizza that the oregano still resonates. I can still smell this oregano even today.
I remember it. I don't remember the flavor because I remember distinctly the DeMayo's flavor and that's what I remember. But interesting. So that's funny though. The oregano left a mark on all you folks. That's crazy. Yeah. Well, that's there's nothing.
It made a mark on many people.
Nothing like a Jersey pizza. I mean, it's hard. Yeah. It's hard to tell people, but okay. So you're out there. So what, just for people who are tuning in for the first time, what is the staple or favorite food or favorite foods of Australians? I mean, what kind of fare do you guys enjoy down there other than
everything? I mean, the Australians are known for their barbecue, putting another shrimp on the Barbie commercials that you used to see with Paul Hogan.
Right.
Crocodile Dundee,
Correct.
So, look, they love their outdoor barbecues, but they'll eat just like us. They love their steak. They love their pasta. They love their Thai food. It's a mixture of stuff. Indian food, everything.
Nice. So you do. You have a very, very eclectic group down there. I mean, you do have a lot of multiculturalism going on. Now, I've in my travels, I mean, I've run into some Aussies in Hong Kong and Singapore and so forth in some of my international travels. And I've met with people here who were going to Australia and maybe they came back, but they always seem to go back or never come home. What is the attraction? Why? I mean, I've never been there, so I don't know.
It's a lifestyle. It's a more laid back lifestyle. There's a lot of seriousness to it. I mean, people take their business very serious. I know I do here. But I think it's just the way the place is. It is an island country. Mm-hmm. It's a continent, but it's still an island kind of country. And it has a lot of tolerances here. It tolerates a lot. We have very acceptable people. They're accepting people. Mm-hmm. And so, like I said before, basically, I felt from the day I stepped off the airplane, Jeff, I felt wanted. I felt like I was okay. Felt secure.
Yeah. That's great. And do they kind of embrace themselves as islanders? I mean, everywhere? Is that kind of how they feel about it?
No, I don't think they see themselves islanders. I think they see themselves as a unique part of humankind. I mean, they contribute. They're one of the world's biggest travelers per capita. And there's 25 million people here, Jeff, in a place the size of America. You know, geographically, only 25 million people.
Yeah.
But basically the whole country's inland is all desert.
Yeah.
So most of the population lives on the coastal fringes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's been, the outback, of course. Yeah. You just, even Perth on the western seaboard is probably not very populated compared to Sydney and Melbourne and others. So, yeah, well, that's great. So in terms of your topography of the landscape there, are you very level right there where you are in Campbelltown, or is it hilly, or is it just, what's it like there?
Yeah, Sydney's pretty flat. The north part of Sydney's it's got more topography, more hills. But about an hour's drive from here is what we call the Blue Mountains, and that's where the ranges start to pick up, and they're huge ranges, and they extend for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles.
Wow.
Well, it's called the Great Dividing Range, and it takes the East Coast dividing range, and then it starts to get into the flat plains and into the desert areas.
Is there skiing? Is there snow skiing in those ranges?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The big snow skiing area is about 2.5 hours south of where I am now, and it's huge.
Okay.
It's huge.
Okay.
Big,
Interesting. Now, have you ever been down to, for folks who don't know, Tasmania is to your south down there, another island. Have you ever been to Tasmania?
The Tasmanian Devil. Remember the little cartoon?
I sure do.
I've been to Tasmania a couple times as well. Not recently, though, but that is a very, very beautiful place, and it is one of the remote places in the world, and it is an island on itself. So you have Australia and the state of Tasmania with its own, we call it the Apple Island.
Interesting. Yeah, I've seen it, and I'm familiar. So I work, my day job, I have a sales agency. I represent a bunch of different companies. One of them I represent is Tasmanian Tiger, and they've adopted a German company that manufactures in Vietnam, but has adopted the Tasmanian Tiger as their mascot. And of course, this tiger is a very small framed, no longer, or I guess believed to be extinct, but had the ability to open its jaws 180 degrees, which is just crazy, But yeah, I would love to go there sometime. If I come down to Australia, I think I'll have to bop on a little flight down there. Very cool.
Jeff, can you hear those birds in the background?
I cannot. No.
Just in case people pick it up, they're cockatoos.
Okay, and that's what's going on right
cockatoo?
now. Yeah, I know what a cockatoo. Sure.
Cockatoos. Remember Beretta, the TV show Beretta?
Yeah.
He had the cockatoos.
Yeah.
Well, these cockatoos are like robins or blue jays. They're everywhere.
Oh my gosh, how cool is that? I think
And
most.
they're
That's so cool. I think most of us think of bats in Sydney, I guess, or Melbourne. I'm not sure which city it is, but the bats under the bridge, we hear about that. But cockatoos, yeah, no, that's so cool. So.
Yeah,
that is so cool. So beach-wise, you're an hour from the beach, or do you frequent the Sydney beaches quite a bit?
Yeah, we do. We're only 35 minutes down to my daughter Brooke lives down the beach,
Nice.
And so we just trek down there, and it's just so convenient. 30 minutes, 35 minutes. You're on the beach. You're on the beach.
Nice. Excellent. Well,
That's cool.
So have you moved now? I know you were in the process of moving. Have you moved to your new place?
Not as yet. The house is still on the market as well. We had it sold, and then there was an issue, and then we took it off and we put it back on again. So now we're in the process of continuing it further. COVID situation, as you know, it's affected the people movement as well.
Yep.
It's affected the slowing down of inspections in open houses, but we're confident we'll sell it, Jeff.
Yep. So another question a number of people have wanted me to ask is just, give me an idea. Not everybody hears international news. We don't always know. But so the COVID pandemic down there, where are you as a country, or is it governed by states? I know you're in New South Wales. Is it, how is it handled, and where are you with this right now?
Yeah, the country had some of the biggest success stories because we're a small country. We were able to contain it There's only been minimal deaths compared to the world. But just recently, in the last couple of weeks, there's been a COVID reoccurrence. And it's now Victoria, which is the state below us, is in total lockdown again. And they have concerns as of the taping right now of Sydney almost following if we don't take these necessary steps. So now in Victoria, everyone has to wear a mask. It's mandatory. If you don't, it's a $200 fine.
Yeah, well,
that's serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're concerned.
So you're very similar. I mean, you have a pattern of resurgence, much like, I mean, we've got a lot of resurgence here for sure. And, a lot of different, and the states handle it differently, but we've got, counties that, same thing. You got to, states that you have to wear, so, well, and your family's safe, I trust. Everybody escaped this so far? Good.
We are. Thank you. Yes.
Good. Yes. Well, same here. And, we really, we've been very fortunate here in the St. Louis area where I am and of not a lot of cases overall, but yeah, certainly New Jersey, where we come from, Gordon, it's a mess, and New Jersey, New York, it's just a mess. But at any rate, well, good to hear that you guys are okay. And so before we get into the G-Man Productions, and I would like to just ask you about business. So switching back to business now, you're in solar lighting, is that correct, with Lead Sun?
We're in solar lighting. And as I mentioned before, Jeff, my background has always been with local government consulting, and it's been my life, really. And so today I work with a company called Lead Sun, and we're a part of a global operation with offices in about 12 countries and one in Los Angeles. And what we do really, really well is we design and build smart public lighting for passive areas. So these are areas that you would see typically leading a pathway down to the recreation center or in the car park areas or around the sports field. Not the sports field lighting, not the high energy, but that passive lighting. That's our expertise. We do it really well.
Well, fascinating. You've clued me in on a video you did to assist in a tender, securing a tender, and it was just extremely interesting. And I got the full scope of what you did there. And one of the things I loved, and going, kind of dipping into what we do at SimpleBiz360 is we, talk about harnessing some best practices, and one of them was evidence defeats disbelief, and that word defeats. You use demonstrations, exhibits, facts, examples, analogies, testimonials, or statistics. And so Gordon reached out to me after that episode, and thank you for being an avid follower of the podcast and for reading the book. And he reaches out to me after and says, Jeff, I love that episode. You got to see what I did with my GoPro camera to really come out of the pack. And that's what we're all about. Stand out. So tell the viewers and listeners a little bit about that. That was really cool.
Yeah, it is cool. We completed a big project for one of the local councils, about 160 of these solar smart lights over about, let's say 6 kilometers, which is probably about 4 miles. We're talking some really serious lighting. So just to stand out from a business standpoint, when you're tendering, as you know, tendering, we call bidding in America, is you got to have your stuff pretty polished. And so I had to be able to think a little bit different and think, well, how am I going to get my initiative and my plan and my proposal, my bid into an office that I can't do any pitching? Because as you know, once tenders are in, they sit in their offices and they work out what they're going to do, and they mark out things that are beneficial here. And how is it going to set Lead Sun from the rest of the pack? And I thought, well, the best thing I can do is bring myself to a site and actually record myself, like I'm doing now, in a way, record myself that I actually had empathy with the site. And so I was able to put in a video where I talked about what I was doing, the reasons why I was doing it, what I was looking for. Particularly, we worked on areas where we had shading issues, high trees, and solar panels. Jeff don't like trees.
Sure.
Because we have to get around these things, and we can through different arrangements, master enslaving things, and running low voltage cables to slave light. And at the end of the day, I got the work, and it was part and parcel because the council said you're the only one that told us who you are and what you were actually doing, what you're offering.
Yeah.
You know, and so that was the day, and so it just changed the dynamics of the way I think and the way I prepare bids.
Oh, it was absolutely marvelous because, yes, in a tender, it's a very sterile process in a lot of ways. That bidding can be very sterile. And you gave life to what you were trying to do. You walked the grounds, which I thought was phenomenal because you actually were able to point out some things that wouldn't normally have been pointed out. And, you know, you obviously your skill level with using a camera and knowing how to handle all the elements of verbal communication and visual at the same time. It was a wonderful job. The best storyline to this, I think, is not so much winning that tender. It's the repeat overflow business you got after that tender was even greater.
That's correct.
Correct? And a wonderful story on repeat business because, you know, you delivered on what you said you could deliver on, and you did it in a way that, you know, yeah, I mean, if I would have been in that room opening that video up, seeing that, would have been like, wow, how can we not entertain it, put this guy to the front of the pack? I mean, this is just amazing what he's done. So kudos to you. And, you know, just a great lesson for any listener that, you know, I mean, blending in is not where it's at, and you have to take risks to stand out. But if you can stand out professionally and do it in a way that brings value to what you're doing, and Gordon, you did that here. So I just thought it was a great story. Thank you for sharing that with me because you know, I wouldn't have had the impact just talking about it.
No, you're welcome. And you know, the business we talked about what as business people, you know, what is our purpose and what are we selling? You know, are we selling coffee to people or people coffee?
Right.
Analogy, which I just love. And every business person really has to think about this. And so when we look at what we're doing, sure, we're selling smart public lighting. It's cloud-based stuff. I could dial up the light, 160 lights. I could dial up every light. I tell you, I can change the operational schedules on them. It's all very smart, but that's not really what I'm selling.
Right.
What I'm selling to the council is livability, healthier lifestyles, getting people to go into a parkland situation after dark. I mean, it's dark. You don't close parks. Parks are still there 24 hours a day. So we give those extra couple hours a night or in the morning, perhaps, that people can get out and live and be healthier mentally, socially, physically. And that's what we're selling.
Yeah, I mean, and it's such a great lesson because almost anybody who sells anything that interacts with people, you're not selling the product necessarily. It's what does that product do? Donna Abate was on with her Fusion Gates, and, you know, she's selling harmonious lifestyle in the home, something that gives the home a feel of a bond. You know, each room bonds with the flavor, the atmosphere, and the decorations, and it creates that place. I think Mary Jo actually was the one she said who came up with that slogan. But, you know, we are, you know, people who sell homes. I mean, I can think of the home I bought recently 14 years ago. We told the person, we don't want this type of home. Don't show us this model. Well, they showed us this model, and little did we know, we were really in the market to buy a backyard. So when we saw the backyard, we were like, oh my gosh, it's the model of house we hate, but that backyard is not getting away from us. We bought the backyard. You know, people, and why? Because we sat there and thought, could you imagine the barbecues and the events and the kids, and the grandkids? So, you know, you're so right. And that's a lesson. And what Gordon was referring to is something that I read in Scott Bedbury's book called A New Brand World. And Scott Bedbury was with Starbucks, and if you haven't tuned in on any previous episodes, what one of the findings was, and I'll just quickly summarize it, was that they realized they were in the atmospheric business, they were in the experience business at Starbucks, and they were not serving coffee to people, they were serving people coffee. So, you know, great lesson. Glad you are tracking with that as well and doing great things at Lead Sun. So
I look forward to it every week.
Well, that's awesome that you like what you do, right? I mean, you know, Alex loves what he does. I mean, I love what I mean, it's, you know, not everybody has that ability. I mean, I'm sad to say, but that's great to hear you do. And
thank you.
Do you do a lot of work, by the way? I mean, aside from COVID, let's just remove the COVID situation, were you working out of your house quite a bit prior to that?
Yeah, I've always been mobile that way. I've always been able to work office home. I like to joke about the fact that I read the email 3 times a day, the same one, because I was in office. I'm on my personal. But look, I've been able to manage myself. The mobility was a key for me to be able to work from home. Most of my work, Jeff, is actually out in the field. So a lot of it does not have to be in offices. So I can meet with customers to talk about a project. So I'm not office bound. My job is really out there.
Yeah.
And bringing COVID back into the situation even now is it hasn't affected me that way.
Yeah.
Because I can still meet them in an open space environment.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
You can have my distances and stuff. So knock on wood, that's been terrific for me, and that has not stopped us at all.
Yeah, not everybody can go see vendors here. Just not a lot of vendors want you, and a lot of companies have their people at home until the end of September. So yeah, it's quite
that's right.
It's quite strange.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an adjustment for everybody included. So before I get into some of the fun stuff about G-Man Productions, a couple more business questions just to give the viewers and listeners a feel.
Sure.
Compared to the United States, Gordon, what is the tempo of business? What's the rhythm of a daily business? Is it more relaxed? Is there like in the Central or South America, is there a siesta plopped in the middle of it? Or how does that work? I don't know.
There are a lot of sleep. No, it's a good question. It's a good question. No, the Australians take their business very seriously. No, it's business. It's business. We have Sydney is the largest city, followed by Melbourne, basically, and people get up really early in the morning and they're on fire. They want to provide, they want to achieve, they want to get results. So I can't see any difference that way.
Okay.
Although there's a lot of larrikinism involved as well in the business done here, they tend to laugh easy. They understand, like to have a beer,
Sure.
and relax a bit. But when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Yeah. So it's not uncommon to take a break and have a business lunch, and have a couple libations, or do you guys do a lot of golf too there, or not a lot of golf?
Yeah, I'm not a golfer, so I can't speak for myself, of course. But golf is very important to a lot of Australians for sure.
Yeah. So.
They do like their holidays, they do like their vacations, and they do like their leisure for sure.
Okay.
They mix it really well. Australians seem to mix business and pleasure and leisure really, really well. That's probably a good takeaway.
Which I think is different, seriously, than here. I think we can get too stuffy, a little bit stuffy here, and a little bit more, focused on just.
I get you.
Yeah, I worked for a company for 3 years. You could not laugh internally in the 4 walls of the company. I'm not joking one bit. So yeah, it's a little bit can be really antiseptic in that sense, if you will. But like my wife's from Argentina, and she was born in the north. She was born in the foothills of the Andes, and her family lived in the state of Tucumán. And so when I went there, it's different. It's very late start. It's you get that break in the middle of the day. Dinners are very late. We're sitting down eating dinner at like 10:30, 11. I'm like, holy smokes. It was an adjustment, but it's a whole different atmosphere, and they still like to do business. It was just on a different, plane and a different tempo, if you will. So interesting. Yeah. So business wise, you were kind enough to buy the book. Thank you very much. You read the book. Because I want to get away from business, and we're gonna have so much fun diving into the other stuff. What is your favorite takeaway from SimpleBiz360?
Well, when I first in the beginning, you mentioned about silent business killers, and it just really that just tipped everything off about how easy it is for any person or any company to derail themselves by just overlooking some of the simplest things, and that's what I liked about your book. It was just something that was just that this is how it is, right? And how to get back on track. You kept talking about getting back on track. You're going left, you're going right, but you've got to keep bouncing yourself back into taking that straight up the lane, the road. I like that, and I also like the evidence defeats disbelief. The evidence of whatever you do in business, you've got to be able to tell someone else what you've done. I mean, it's case study, it's testimonials. Look, if you don't believe me, believe this person. I mean, this is fact, and most business success is based on evidence,
right? Because
there's a lot of great statements out in our industry that don't add up, and it's not backed by anything.
Right.
And so that is really important one, Jeff. I took away. I just loved it.
Good. Yeah. I mean, arbitrarily slinging, facts out there with no backup. I mean, that's just, that is no good. So if you can prove it, no, I'm glad it, it resonated with you. And folks, Silent Business Killers, and Gordon, you've read the book. It's pretty much the epicenter of the book. It's what everything's kind of centered around. It was based off of, just real quick, based off something I read as a TARP study that was done in 1985. I read it in 1988. Basically what it says is 26 out of 27 people who have a bad experience with you will not tell you about it. Why is that? Because they expect no satisfaction, right? And then what happens then? Most of those people will never come back to your business. They just won't. They're gone. And when they go, they tell the average person, upset person, tells 9 to 10 colleagues, and 13% of the malcontents go out and tell 20 or more people about it. So there's a lot of people shooting arrows at companies that don't service customers well and don't leave them with a happy feeling.
Right.
And it's probably the reason so many small businesses go out of business. I mean, really, that's my conclusion after 30 years of kind of looking at this, is that most people are just getting killed by silent business killing events based on the fact that they don't give their customers that satisfaction level that this book tries to gear into. So again, anybody, it's $18.95. I'm going to do a little plug here on Amazon. You can go on our website and buy it. But the bottom line is, it is a book for anybody who's in business, because you don't have to be just sales. You don't have to be just an entrepreneur, a mompreneur, solopreneur. You can be run a small business unit and get a bunch out of it. So, I did a speaking event a couple weeks ago, Gordon, and there was a guy who owns a flooring company there, and I saw him just nodding. He was just nodding the whole time. And finished and had a great question and answer period with the gang, and about 50 people there. And he comes up with, give me 8 books. I need one for each one of my crew chiefs. And he got it, and he said this silent business killer thing is just, I'm on it. So thank you for that. I appreciate all your support. I really do. I mean, folks, this gentleman watches and listens to every podcast, and I just, I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Well, Jeff, we been doing it so long, but no one has the mortgage on this. No one. You got to change and think and refocus every day. Are you doing the right thing? So it's a read for all time. It's really timeless reading.
Yeah, exactly.
You've created.
Thank you. And that's really was the art to it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it could be around for a while, I hope. So paying benefits to people. So great. So, well, enough with business. We are going to, I can't wait to I can't wait to dive into this part. So, so Gordon reaches out to me one day and says, "Hey, Jeff, why don't you take a look at this video?" And he emails me. We've been going back and forth for months now. And he emails me this video link, and I open it up. And it's G-Man Productions. Tell the group about this. How did you come about? What's the inspiration here? How did you come about with this?
Well, it's the G-Man is Gordon, for my G for Gordon, and the first 3 letters of my name, Manzione, M-A-N. That's it. That's how that started. That was pretty easy to figure out.
Sure.
But G-Man is just a hobby. I call production because I'm producing drums. I'm a drummer, basically a drummer, and I always want to story tell. You listen to a song, right, Jeff? We all do, and one song would mean so much to you, but maybe not so much to that person, because it's a very personal, introspective coming to you,
right? And
it's a date and time, or it's a smell in time, or it's a reminiscing time, and it's really important to us. So a lot of songs I listen to have a personal effect on me, and I try to create a story of a cover of the song, but tell the story from my point of view, how I interpret it. That's how that starts.
So it's really a personal It's a personal attachment to that song. That song's affected you in some way, shape, or form. And are you telling your story? Are you using that song to tell a different story, or are you using it to tell your story about that, what that song means to you?
It's mainly it's a bit of both. It's not so much about me. It's an interpretation of a song that I think that who's ever listening to it would resonate with it and say, you know what, I can see what he's doing. I can see the images he's putting up. I can see by how he's playing the music, his background, how he's setting up the stage. I think I get it, you know? There's a whole bunch I've done. So I've done so many of them now. Some I haven't published, they're just there. But it's a mixture of both, Jeff.
So it's your pastime. I mean, do you do this? Are you dabbling on this every weekend pretty much, or?
Oh yeah. I as you know, I had the acoustic kit in the garage over here, yep. And it's pretty loud. And you're limited to drummers are very limited people. I mean, we just can't take our drums on planes and trains. You know,
right.
Here we go. We are limited, and we have also things called neighbors, and we have things called rocks,
yeah,
sticks, stones, and knocking on doors and stuff. You know, but
you've had your fill.
All that. And nasty letters, you know?
Oh my goodness.
And you know, so you think, okay, so what I did recently, I said, no, I'm going to continue this. So I went out and bought myself a Roland electronic drum kit. I put a lot of money into it, so now I'm playing off that, and I'm loving it.
And it's quieter, I guess. Is that?
Not so much. My wife says she can still hear that tap, 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 but it's a lot less. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot less. And it's the things you can do now with electronic drum kits is just terrific.
Nice. Yeah. So what? And we're going to put, if it's okay with you, we're going to put your link up to G-Man Productions on YouTube so people can subscribe. We're going to put it up on our YouTube site. So when you go and you hook up, I mean, but I think what really is cool and what struck me as being very cool, it was your creativity. And just like your video that you used, it did GoPro with your company and securing that tender. When I watch your videos, they're not what you expect going into it. You tell a story from a different angle, and you use a rock song that means something to you, obviously. But you play the drums along with the song. You tell the story, and there's cutaways, and there's certain things that are pieced in there that you have to do some editing on for sure, which is very creative. So, when did you start playing drums? I never knew you were a drummer in high school.
In that link for the ones we just completed just recently, we talked a little bit about, had a next door neighbor called Johnny Picarello. And John went, class of 1970, and Johnny played the drums, and he played them pretty loud too. And I got my rhythm from just listening to this guy hitting it. Bang, 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 bang. This has got to be something good. Wow. And so he gave me his drums as he went on to the University of Rutgers, and he said, you can have them. So that was it. So I started when I was, 12, 13? Oh my God. And then, and then, of course, just dropped them. Just traveled and moved out here and just dropped them. And then picked it up about 5 years ago.
Is that right? So you just rekindled it 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Holy smokes. I had no idea. You would never know. I mean, it looked like you've been playing them, all along, and well, that's so cool. It's really, I got to say, they're very uniquely put together. And so the editing, where did you become comfortable with the camera? Was it just using GoPro on the weekends? And
anyone that does film editing or film video, it's a laugh, because if I showed you all the film, the stuff that didn't make it, you'd laugh. I mean, I had a fire in my garage doing one of them. Seriously, yes. I lit some candles to do a song, and the whole garage was burning down, and that wasn't really funny. I couldn't play the drums for 4 weeks. My hands were all burned.
Jeez.
Just to put it out.
Yeah, well, you sent me that video. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it was interesting times as well. But yeah, it's my daughter Brooke is into video and videography and stuff for her own work. And she's taught me how to use the software, and she's given me that blessing to be able to do this and to be able to embed things and how to do this and how to do that. I'm only using basically an Adobe Premiere Pro program. It's nothing flash. And in my videos, I try not to be over flashy with it. I don't want too many, bells and whistles
Right.
and firecrackers going off because people's attention, they won't, it's all about the storyline.
Right.
So I'm very cognizant of the fact to keep it simple.
Well, no, and it is. It's simple, it's straightforward. Generally it's the length of the song and that's it. But it just tells it tells a story in a unique way. And so are you okay with us putting the link up there and letting people have
Of
at
course,
it?
of course.
Very,
yeah. I get a kick out of it too. It's a blast.
Well, and it's a good therapy, right? You get a chance to do something, and it's an outlet. But most of all, it really shows me that deep down, you're just a very creative mind that putting this to use, and it's really cool to see that at work.
Well, you touched on the word therapy, Jeff. That was something I thought about it, and that therapy is something in life that we all need in some way. Whatever we do in our lives, it's that balance. And the word therapy is bang. That's what it is. It gives me a chance to be able just to drift off and.
Yeah, no, listen, we all have it. I mean, I run. I've been running for 41 years and that's my therapy. It feels really good to get that 45 minutes in. So yeah, we all, it's a healthy thing to have that outlet and very cool. And I'm glad to see your daughter. So I wonder where you were getting your prowess from. So obviously learning from the pro, which is very cool. Now you said you have 2 grandchildren right now. Is that right? Or 3?
I got 2. I got 2. I got, Scarlett, Abby's daughter she's 8.
Right.
And Brooke's son, Alfie, he's just turned 3.
Right. Okay. So yeah, we got 5 and 2. So yeah, we've got 2 as well, but boys, which is nice. Which brings me to, I got to tell you something. And folks, you've heard the expression Jersey girls. They can be tough, right? Well, I married a Jersey girl, and then I had 2 daughters who lived in Jersey for a time. So Gordon, at times I have 3 Jersey girls who wear that Jersey girl badge very proudly, I might add. And oh boy, no, nothing wrong with them. It's just that they can. They got spunk, baby.
They do. I bet they do.
Now, do your kids get any of that Jersey spunk drifted over?
Yeah, I think so. I think my children are registered Americans, so they actually hold American citizenship when they were born. Although they were born in Australia, I was able to give them that gift. I like to think it's a gift. It's a great gift.
Sure.
And so they can enjoy that, whatever they do in their lives.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So they have an affinity. They certainly do. Yeah. And of course, all my family. I mean, they've been back and forth many times with us, and they understand because all my family is over in America.
Sure. And prior to you going to Hawaii and going with Gary French out there, had you really traveled much at all outside of the U.S.?
No, not at all. Not at all. And that was the thing. We were mainly East Coast stuff, down to Florida, right? Over to Texas, maybe back again. But no, not at all.
Yeah. I know. Randy Comfort and I took a trip out to see my folks, and I don't know, we were 18 or whatever, drove out, and we got to the Ohio border, and he said, wow, at that time he'd never been further than Pennsylvania. And and a lot of East Coast people, a lot of people anywhere, just kind of get locked into the region and don't get out and that much. So you really went all the way. Hawaii, boom, Australia. So
it wasn't planned. It was you can call it destiny, basically, but it was definitely not planned.
Yeah,
just
very cool. Happened. Very interesting. So G-Man Productions. Do we have more editions coming out as we look forward?
We do, and the last one, as you know, you'll see, we actually did live stuff. So I actually got Steve Placatoris, our great classmate Steve, who helped me on the "You Want to Get to Heaven" episode. My daughter Brooke, and then Attila, who's a local friend of ours, on guitar. Yes, we do. We have another one planned. This one's going to be exceptional, and so that's in the making.
Yeah, that was really a pleasure to see Steve. I had no idea he picked up singing, while he was down in Australia. Found that gift that he had, and he certainly has that Joe Cocker-ish type of delivery. You said he does Joe Cocker better than Joe Cocker. I like that. I got to hear
phenomenal.
That. Yeah, that's
phenomenal.
Great.
Yeah,
that's great.
Cool.
So,
yeah.
So rock and roll. So Gordon and I have this just affinity for rock and roll. I mean, one of the things we do at the end of every show here is a Lost on a Track or Lost on a Shuffle track, and we want to propel and advance rock and roll. And so we've gone back and forth over time and emails and so forth about things. So before I get into something cool about Berkeley High School, rock and roll in general, what's the, in Australia, who is considered rock and roll royalty down there? I mean, I think I know the answer.
Well, yeah. Well, I could say right off the top of my head, Jimmy Barnes, Cold Chisel.
Okay.
In Excess, In Excess.
Yep, sure.
A Little River Band, they would be part of that as well.
Yep.
This is internationally recognized as well. There's a whole rate of great of musos. AC/DC would probably be our most outrageous rock and roll act, and they're still pounding around. And there's a lot of AC/DC acts, tribute acts going around the club.
Oh, here too. I mean, yeah, big. Yeah.
AC/DC's got it. It's just rock and roll. I mean, it's just blatant out there rock and roll. You either love them or you hate them. There's no in between.
Well, I tell you, so that's it. Yeah, I mean, it's you've had some Air Supply, Men at Work, I think, is from
Men at Work. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
influences.
One of the guys, and if you've never heard, I'm not really a country guy, but I mean, Keith Urban's probably he's a Kiwi, but he grew up in Australia. But I tell you what, that gentleman, the quality of the production he puts on is just astronomical. I mean, he's really a good quality performer. And I think fast becoming very well loved in the United States. And
he is. He's well loved. He's a good person.
He is. Yeah, he's just a great guy. And then, you've had some really good contributions to the Christian genre, too. I mean, you've got the Smallbone family right from New South Wales there who did their For King and Country. And Rebecca St. James are actually a brother and sister. They moved to Nashville. Yeah, so they're right from, they're born in Sydney. And then you've got, you got Hillsong, you got the Newsboys. So you've got a lot of contributions music-wise coming out of it. Of course, Olivia Newton-John, and then you've got I think the Bee Gees even spent some of their time in Australia.
They did. They grew up in Queensland, Brisbane.
Yep. And I think there's only been three bands that have sold more albums than Bee Gees. I mean, that's crazy. But always a great musical influence down there. Are they? Do they like the American bands like Guns N' Roses? I mean, they like REO Speedwagon down there or Grand Funk?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, God, yes. Yes, Jeff. Yes, and yes. Yes.
Good.
Yeah. Bon Jovi.
Sure.
The Boss.
Sure. Excellent.
Tom Petty. I mean, these are all my favorites.
Sure.
If you ask me, my rock and roll favorites are these people as well. Bob Seger. To me, Bob Seger was, he's it.
Yeah.
He's it.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate he doesn't want to come down to Australia. He hasn't traveled. He hasn't traveled here or played here for, I don't think, ever. I don't even know if he's ever been here.
Wow.
And but one day maybe.
Yeah. So Seeger was your guy, huh? I mean, that's I mean, he's got that great raspy voice and just gritty. I mean, I always loved his grit and his just straightforwardness, and his music. And of course, we grew up at the Boss. Now, have you ever seen? Did you ever get a chance to see the Boss at the Stone Pony?
I might have walked in there, walked out, but I can't remember actually sitting down and watching Bruce Springsteen there, the Stone Pony.
Yeah.
But I know that we passed it many times.
Yeah. Yeah. We used to try, we used to be in Stockton and on a Friday let's go to Stone Pony and just see, because we always hear of he pops up and plays with Mitch Ryder, or he pops up and plays with the, Bill Chinnock band, or sometimes Southside and him drift in and out, but we just never caught that spontaneous situation, so I never did see. I saw him in concert. Obviously, he's a great act, and Bon Jovi's. I don't know about you, but I've come to really appreciate his music, and as an adult, I just kind of gravitated to it, and I never liked it when it first came out, but I've really warmed up to it, and when you think about it, Southside Johnny was his inspiration, he says, and which is kind of crazy. But
so the era that we grew up, basically was that 70s as we were heading towards high school, freshman, sophomore, junior years, when you look at that time of, 72, 70, that
Right.
middle 70s, there's a lot of stuff happening on the rock and roll scene. And we were probably fortunate enough to be part of that 70s. And then going into the 80s, which probably has arguably some of the best music ever made in the 80s. We just enjoyed so much in the youth.
Yeah.
That way.
Oh my gosh.
Real rock and roll. Real rock and roll.
Absolutely. What was your first concert? Do you remember your first concert?
My first concert, I think it was Uriah Heep. I think,
No kidding.
up in Passaic.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Uriah Heep, and they were across the pond.
Oh, they were, yeah.
Susie Quattro,
Yes. Wow. Holy smokes. There's a name I haven't heard that in a long time. Yeah. No, mine was Roosevelt Stadium. I know it's June 8th, 1974. Charlie Daniels opened up for the Allman Brothers. And, and I mentioned to you, one of our classmates no longer with us, but Patty Messina.
Yeah.
Messini was, I sat in back of her at homeroom, right? We were in the same homeroom. And, she had a flock of hair that just, unmistakable. So there I'm in Roosevelt Stadium, and all these people, and I drifted off from my party, and who do I see in front of me? I mean, I can't miss her hair. It's Patty. So I hung out with Patty for my first concert, which was kind of cool. And she's a ton of fun, as we all remember. She was a rocker, but yeah, very cool. We grew up in a special time. It was the Vietnam War was ending. Rock and roll had blossomed tremendously. We had seen the wave of explosion after explosion of just new sounds and new bands. And when you think of all that, what's the most impressionable album or band that you heard that just when you heard it, you stopped dead in your tracks and said, I got to have more of this? Any of them come to mind?
Yeah, they do. And I think on my first album was High Tides and Green Grass by the Rolling Stones. And on that album was Satisfaction, probably arguably one of the best rock and roll songs ever.
Absolutely.
And that just started me. I still listen to the album.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Right.
And then and of course that led to America, the group America that came out at that 70-ish.
Yep.
And then following America was basically the Eagles. And so you had, and a whole bunch of other ones. I could sit here all day and name them. But they were very impressionable. And that just led me to this, Steely Dan, it just got better and better. That's what happened.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it was funny. Stones were my first. Sticky Fingers. That was my first. When I heard Wild Horses, I think that just, I don't know, it changed everything. My next album was Abraxas by Santana, and just really got into loving and appreciating that guitar work and all. But it was real. But the Dale Wright, the Steve Wright older brother, was my eye opener because he just, Gordon, you would have loved it. This gentleman. From what I understand, his dad moved the company from Bolton, England to the United States for better profit margins and so forth, better distribution or whatever. And, poor Dale was a young BBC session guitarist at age 16. And Dale was probably about 5'7" at his height and probably had about a 2.5 foot wide red afro, 2 feet long. I mean, it was all hair. And he could play the guitar like nobody else. So we'd finish playing soccer in the backyard. These 4 English young men would just, run all over me. And as a result, I ended up getting pretty good at soccer because I just was their whipping boy, basically. And we would go upstairs and Dale would say, pull any album out. And he had a Cape Cod house and I had about a 20-foot shelf maybe. And I could pull out any album and he would teach me about the artists, where these guys came from. And he could play anything on any one of the albums. And I just, the doors that opened up, the Savoy Brown, Wishbone Ash, the Rory Gallaghers of the world, the, Spooky Tooth, and, he just laid everything out. And it was an amazing education, which, I wanted to be a rock and roll DJ. I wanted to go to Connecticut School of Broadcasting. And honestly, the Ernie gang that I hung around with, they basically said, dude, we're not going to listen to you for like 4 hours. Your voice is too high, and it's not going to happen. And you really had to have velvet pipes back then. You really did. And so while we're on that subject, I do want to say something that anybody out there in Jersey growing up, and we did. This is a great book by Richard Neer. I don't know, were you any WNEW radio listener or WPLJ or both?
Yes, yeah, both.
Okay. So Richard Neer was a DJ on WNEW. He's actually, I think, one of the program directors. He's on the Fan now, the WFAN. But Richard wrote this book called The Rise and Fall of Rock Radio. Great book, a lot about WNEW, and really gives you an insight. And we grew up listening to the avant-garde radio station, rock radio station in the world. I mean, arguably anybody will tell you that. Yeah, and it was just so. If you're looking for a good book, Richard Neer, it's a really cool book. I tried to get him on the show. I'm a relative nobody.
I can tell you the lingo. WPLJ.
Yeah. So very cool. Well, so another story that we have Berkeley Heights wise, which is so dang cool, guys. I guess it was February 28th. March 1st or something. I was reading a Facebook post on a Berkeley Heights, which is the New Jersey Facebook page that we belong to, and there was a mention of a book there, and the book was entitled "A Song for You" by Kathy West, and this is a young lady who went to Watchung Hills High School, and it was a book about these 5 young men that tried to climb the ladder and go from garage band to rock and roll stardom. And it's a heartbreaking story. I mean, you've read it now, Gordon, a heartbreaking story. Was able to get in touch with Kathy West and get to know her, and we've talked endlessly, and we're going to have her in here for a 2-part podcast, the last part of this year. She's going to drive into St. Louis and do a 2-parter with us. It's a fascinating story. And again, it's riddled with humongous names, and a tragic ending to a dream that never got to be realized. But I want to tell everybody about some cool Berkeley Heights facts that's contained in this. So the band, right, called the Middle Class. The band is made up of 5 guys: a gentleman from North Plainfield, 2 gentlemen from Watchung Hills High School, so they lived in Sterling and Gillette, and then 2 students that went to Governor Livingston Regional High School. One young man was from Berkeley Heights, Mike Rosa, and he played the drums. And the other was a gentleman named Charles Larkey, who was from Mountainside and went to Governor Livingston High School. So here's the neat thing that probably no one knows, or very few people know, and I don't know, Gordon, why we didn't know this.
Sure.
But Larky's, if you just go to Blue Star Cinema, right? Just think of Blue Star Cinema, Corvettes. There was a store in there called Larky's, right? It was a men's store. I don't know if you guys remember. Do you remember it at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was Charles Larkey's dad's store. And I believe they had a big one in Newark too. I think they had been around in the clothing business for quite a long time. But so Charles and the Middle Class and this band, they ended up performing at Governor Livingston High School in 1964 at a Battle of the Bands. And that's how I kind of straightened that story out, but that's how they, got first on the radar. And Charles Larkey was in this band. And so long story short, the band progresses, the band kind of falls apart. The band in the process gets to know Carole King and Jerry Goffin, and they form this friendship. And this band's on the fast track. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff in this book, but I'm going to cut to this chase. Charles Larkey ends up marrying Carole King. They end up having two children together. Now, this is the amazing fact. So while we're in 8th grade, Gordon, Tapestry comes out, right? It's one of the biggest albums of all time to this day. Carole King Tapestry comes out. And here we are in 8th grade. We go into freshman year, 1972. Now the song's won all these Grammys, and it's just an album, and they're just, it's humongous. Carole King's on everyone's mind. Everyone knows her. Probably half the freshman class has her album. And here's the interesting part. All that time, she's married to a Governor Livingston Regional High School student. The guy that went to school there. I didn't know that.
I didn't know it.
I mean, isn't it crazy that, we're sitting here listening to Carole King and she's got this connectivity to Berkeley Heights and to Governor Livingston through marrying a guy that went to our high school, our little high school. So, I mean, crazy stuff. Great story. If you want to pick this book up, it's on Amazon. It's on eBay as well, by Kathy West, A Song for You. Kathy has been just an absolute joy to get to know, and I can't wait to have her on the podcast because there's so many twists and turns here. I mean, all kinds of stuff like Jimi Hendrix playing guitar with his teeth and you name it. You know, there's all kinds of cool things. But, you know, isn't that funny that here we grow up in this town, and there's another character in this book that gets embellished, and this person has connectivity to the Velvet Underground, manages the Velvet Underground, has connectivity to sharing with the Beatles their first puff of marijuana, correct? Crazy stuff.
Yeah,
But,
it is. It's crazy. There is. And the thing that gets me too in the book is the producer of The Middle Class was a guy that lived in Briarwood Drive West, I understand. And that was 3 blocks from my house. Now, tell me, Jeff, I can visualize that there was some talk that Bob Dylan used to visit that house.
right.
Now, I can imagine Bob Dylan walking down Briarwood Drive West while I'm over at William Woodruff Public School playing in the playground. Are you serious?
Yeah, seriously.
You know, I think like,
yeah,
no,
right.
yeah.
I mean, like Bob
Good.
Dylan. Is Bob Dylan going to DeMayo's Pizza and grabbing a couple slices?
Hey, listen, did Bob Dylan go to Dairy Queen? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean,
Kathy, tell us. Did he go to Dairy Queen?
Buster's. You know, did you get a Buster? Yeah, I mean, seriously. I mean, you know. So I asked Kathy. I said, "Do you have any firsthand knowledge? Did he really write Mr. Tambourine Man in Berkeley Heights?" So she says, "That's what we heard. I can't tell you bona fidely." So I'm trying to work some back channels. I do some business in Duluth, where Bob's from. He's not there now, but you know, I'm trying to see if I can work some back channels to see if I can.
That'd be cool.
You know, talk to him and just say, hey, a couple things we want. But yeah, seriously. So very cool stuff. We're going to have her on. We'll tell more about it. And there's some other things that are cooking. Yeah, so it'll really be fun. But, you know, it's Berkeley Heights, our time together there, you know, is a lot of fun, a lot of good memories, a lot of rock and roll, a lot of partying for sure. You know, it was just that time age.
You know, Jeff, I was thinking about that again last night. You know, Berkeley Heights, and I say this from the bottom of my heart. We had, you know, we grew up in a great place. We had friends all over Berkeley Heights. I mean, I grew up on the kind of the, I was supposed to the eastern side near the New Providence border, and that's part of it. And I had friends in the central part, downtown. You know, I was always over in the Mountain Park area. I was at Hamilton Terrace area. I was up at the Berkeley High School area. I was just everywhere. We were all over the place because the great town we had. We had friends everywhere, groups everywhere.
Yeah. Through
either sport or whatever we were involved with. It was just a great place to be. It always felt good. It was a great place, secure place.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
We walked the streets. I mean, I was walking these streets, you know, at 14, 15, 16 years old. At 2 or 3 in the morning. Never had a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I used to, you know, I walked the tracks. We lived on the railroad tracks. I walked the tracks every night. And yeah, I mean, we walked a lot. We definitely did. And you're right. A very safe place to grow up and you know, experience that young life. So I got to ask you a question. It's funny, you know, you go out and buy jeans today, right? We get faded jeans with holes in them, all kinds of stuff. Do you remember as a high schooler, like washing the daylights out of your jeans just to get them to fade more? Did you ever do that?
I can't say that, but I do remember the bell bottom.
Yes. Okay. Oh, I can just remember. Pants. Yeah, you do remember that. What about painter pants? Remember painter pants?
Yeah, the painter pants. Yeah, those, and also those flower pants, and you know that was you know, the cow skills and what was the other model? You know, those little you know, the Partridge Family.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I just remember, you know, because you couldn't buy, you know, pre-washed jeans. So, but you know, when they looked faded, they looked great. And, you know, Springsteen was wearing them on a cover, and you're just like, oh man, you know, yeah, I want this, you know, and it was just hard to, too much. But, the youthful times,
that's it.
Anything you want to say to anybody, back in Berkeley Heights, America, just,
Oh, what can I say? Look, I do miss Berkeley Heights, Jeff. That's something I do miss.
Yep.
You say I miss America, but I miss Berkeley Heights. I mean, you know, I grew up with freedom. I grew up the freedom to do what I wanted to do.
Yep.
I was never held back.
Yeah.
And I suppose my itchy feet got me to Sydney, Australia, so many years later, and that's probably why I'm here.
Yeah.
Just restless, but certainly enjoyed the whole journey, and still do.
Sure.
And the Berkeley Heights, I keep saying it's given us our start. It's given me my start in life.
Sure.
And it's developed me to the person I suppose hopefully came to be, I suppose.
Well, absolutely. It was a very interesting place and very nice place and very safe place. And you're right, very safe times too, relatively. But yeah, well, it's life goes on, and you explored, and look where your explorations got you, in a great place. Sounds like an awesome country. Sounds like an awesome place to raise a family and have a home. And so real happy for you out there. And I definitely am going to look up your brother. I promised him when I get to Indianapolis I'll stop in and say hi. And would love to make it down there sometime. And Gordon, I would love to. But certainly appreciate everything, all the support you've given us here at SimpleBiz360 and the effort and the kudos. And it's been neat getting your feedback all the time. So
thank you. You're welcome, Jeff.
Hey, have a pizza from me. Have a shrimp on a BARBIE for me, and but enjoy yourself down there. I hope everybody stays safe in these COVID times. I hope it reverses for everybody here, and we get out of this quick. And we always just end by every episode, Gordon, by just saying thank you to everybody for viewing. If you want to subscribe, you can go down on the bottom. There's a corner down here in the right-hand corner where you can hover your cursor over that little pinwheel, and that'll allow you to subscribe to our podcast. But we always end with a lost in the shuffle track pick, and this is your pick, my man. So what are we going to feature to this week?
Lost in the shuffle. There's just so many.
I know.
There's just so many, and golly, lost in the shuffle. I'll tell you what, if we mentioned the Guess Who before, didn't we? On one of them.
I had Bus Rider on one of them, yeah.
I would encourage people to listen to Clap for the Wolfman.
Clap for the Wolfman. Bingo. From,
Now, Clap for the Wolfman is about Wolfman Jack.
Yep.
And everyone knows who Wolfman Jack is. If you don't know who Wolfman Jack is, just Google him, because he was the king of alternative delivering music on radio. He was the king, and he had a knack. And the song is really, the Clap for the Wolfman, it's really about Wolfman Jack.
Yes, correct. And absolutely great pick. And I've reached out to Burton Cummings because it's the 50th year anniversary, and he won't. I don't get any response. But I did tell you I met him once on a plane. I think I told you that story. So Wolfman. So about 6-7 years ago, I'm in Kansas City. It's about 7:30 at night. It's a summer night. I'm at a stoplight. There's nobody next to me, and all of a sudden a convertible comes pulling up next to me, and it's this probably 25-year-old girl, and the music's blaring, and what she's sitting there, clap for the Wolfman. I couldn't believe it. I was like,
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Like, of all songs, right? And they had a distinctive, clap for the Wolfman. It was great. So, I couldn't believe it. But the Wolfman, anybody Google Wolfman Jack, just listen to Wolfman Jack. Yeah. Right? Isn't that great?
Yeah.
He was a DJ, and he was just the guy to listen to. So, awesome stuff, man. Well, listen, so much fun having you on, and I really appreciate it. And guys out there, if you're driving, keep the shiny side up. Remember to hold on to your sand. That's your profitability. Don't let it slip away. And Gordon and I know you don't have any business. You don't get repeat business like Gordon got from doing that GoPro video unless you make customers happy. So keep making good on your promises, promise keepers, not just promise makers. Don't just sling a bunch of hash out there. Back it up with evidence. We'll see you next week. Gordon, thank you very much. All the greetings to you and your family down there, and be safe, my friend.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, take care.
Thank you, friend.
All right, so long.
Take care.
You too.
Bye for now.
All right, bye-bye.
You bet.